significant players from all across the world, let alone the United States, are now interested in investing capital in the city of Roswell.
Right. Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Roswell Brew Talks, sponsored by Wellstar Health System, Wellstar North Fulton Hospital. Great to be back with you all, and we are ecstatic about our guest today. He is actually a returning podcaster
guest
with us now at this point.
Only
which is awesome.
second time guest we've had,
Really?
Yeah, sure enough is, yeah.
Mayor Wilson.
Yeah, so maybe we can do a recurring theme with a
I
lot
think
of
we
other
got a
guests to
theme
catch up
going.
on
Yeah,
things.
we definitely got a good theme going.
That's right. And we have our Mayor Kurt Wilson with us today. And really, we're going to talk about a hodgepodge of things today. And this is really just designed to be kind of a second update on some really exciting projects that are happening. But I want to make sure that you get to introduce yourself. So I'll turn it over to you, Steve.
Hey, the star in the room is our mayor right now. That's the end of the day, right? I'm Steve Stroud. I'm the president and CEO of Roswell Inc. We're the economic development organization working with the city of Roswell. And it's great to have you here. I'm
Steve,
serious.
Thanks, man.
It's fun.
It's good to be here with you, brother. Good to hear with you, Andy Brookfield neighbor. By the way, congratulations on being the HOA president of Brookfield.
Oh, there you go. He's going to get grayer
Still
really
debating
quick.
that decision, but yeah.
That's just, you're like the mayor of Brookfield, man.
When the power goes out, sometimes it seems like it.
We're like tickled to death. You are our HOA president, man. It really is cool.
That is
Thank
cool.
you. It's a good
And
time.
you guys do such a great job for the
Thank
city of Roswell. I
lot
think
of
you
fun.
are undervalued, underappreciated. I don't think most people know what you do. Steve, probably the most long-suffering resident and business cheerleader for so long. And it's funny, like we got a project we're not going to talk about today.
Right.
That you have been working on for 24 months and really have been just a giant part of all the ingredients of the formula. Very sophisticated strategy, very elegant, and you've been right there. And it's like, I wish that the city of Roswell and its residents and its businesses, and some do, but most don't know how much you do, don't know how much you do, Andy, for the city of Roswell, how much you make our city better, how much you continue to grow the economic climate, and how much, like you said, it's a great day to do business in the city of Roswell.
Yes, it is.
And the truth of the matter is, we're just getting started.
Oh, yeah.
Like we're just getting warmed up. Just a couple of weeks ago, we did the PBS announcement, which
Yes.
is like an amazing deal.
Big.
Katrina Singletary, Christine Hall,
Yep.
Alex Kaufman,
Yep.
of course, Peter Surkoff from Sierra. You were involved with this. But, Katrina's been having these conversations with the Czech Republic, some of the leadership here in the United States.
Fantastic.
Went over there and basically, in a couple of days,
Sealed the deal.
landed a gigantic fish
Yes.
that was sought after by numerous cities throughout the United States. And really because of their efforts, Katrina's looking here. Katrina, great job. The team did a great job. And you've been behind a lot of this, Steve. So a lot of that stuff's fixing to pop. It's going to be more and more fun. People don't realize what a big deal PBS is. It ties into AAM.
Yep.
It ties into HPI. It ties into autonomous vehicles. It ties into all the things that, our kids,
That's right.
are more and more familiar with. There's a lot of pieces where Roswell's, for part of our economic strategy is to say, look, instead of just me tooing what Alpharetta did, or me tooing what Milton did, or me tooing what Sandy Springs did, really one of the things, which you're one of the architects of the team, you too, as Andy, is you guys, these Thursday afternoon meetings with Surkoff,
Wow.
with Christine Hall,
Yep.
with Alan, with Will, with Georgia Power, with all the people,
team.
all the team, you've been putting together and kind of courting a long-term strategy. And there are a lot of pieces of that equation.
2 years now, I think, right?
Yeah, almost.
Yeah.
Almost 2 years.
Really, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And it's still an incubation. There are
May.
pieces of it coming out, like the four-pod strategy. You can begin to see that. The four-pod strategy beginning here with downtown.
Yep.
People will start seeing what's going to happen in Midtown probably next year. Uptown, we may have a little surprise before the year is out.
Maybe.
And then our East Corridor, I think that there's going to be some fantastic news for our residents and for our businesses, and really for the whole community and surrounding communities, that we may have such a dynastic development that it really will be a game changer for the region.
Yeah,
Well,
absolutely.
you said something that's really important, and I appreciate the kudos for Andy and I, but we love it. We love this community, and we're passionate about it every day. Like, we want it to be better, and the only way to make it better is we all got to jump in. We got to roll our sleeves up, and we've seen the results. The PBS thing is a great example of how we worked with all the parts and pieces. But I think one of the things that's so key that, and PBS is part of the strategy, right? The bigger strategy of how Roswell grows its economic base and continues to move it off the backs of the residents, like the three of us, and onto the commercial sector. I think the other thing is, you talk about the East. I think your move with buying Roswell Summit and moving the public safety facilities, all the police department, the fire department, up on that hill is a brilliant move, because what it's doing, it's saying we're trying to tie Roswell together geographically, right?
Well, it's one of the dominoes. I mean, because that does is it serves another catalytic project that's going to be taking place there too, and we'll get into that. But Mayor, can you talk to us about the reason behind Summit and why that? I mean, that was a very smart financial move as well. But there's a lot of moving parts and a lot of great reasons that it is the right fit for it. But let's also talk about why that leads to Hill Street and what that's going to be for the community.
Well, it's funny, we asked the voters in November of 22 for $52 million for public safety, which meant new fire stations, new public safety center, et cetera, et cetera. And $52 million is a lot of money, but when you look at it really in terms of the big picture, it's not a lot of money. For example, you can look at our sister city, Sandy Springs. They built basically a new police station and shooting range in excess of $65 million, right? So we went out and said, look, we got to do a new 911 center, i.e. an emergency operations center. We got to do a new public safety center, and we got to do fire stations. And we got to do that for $52 million, all in. So we knew we had to get creative, and new build, right? Too expensive. It's too expensive.
Can't happen.
It's not. Return on investment just isn't there. It's not a great investment for our taxpayers. So first one we hit was sharpshooters, and that was a reach out. We knew sharpshooters was thinking about selling, so we reached out to them. They said, hey, yeah, we are thinking about selling. They own the real estate. So it turned out to be a magnificent transaction. We'll be all in for that, between $8 and $9 million, including the real estate, the building, and the refurb of the building, and have a brand new 911 center there.
And a shooting range.
And a shooting range. Right, a shooting range.
Which we didn't have.
No, exactly. And I'll tell you, that's a big deal. And that affects training, affects morale, affects the number of hours policemen work, et cetera, et cetera. Like,
that's
just
great.
Bam, 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 positive. The other thing was, when we said, all right, public safety center. Well, it's no surprise. Look, Atlanta, the office business has been declined for about 6-7 years. No surprise there. And Atlanta, is in first-tier markets, is really the bottom of the barrel. It's close to 71-72%. Now, that changes when you get a bit above the perimeter. And by the way, that is in flux, like everything's in the macro economy, so that's going to change. But as it stands, right, new office investment is a bad investment, right? You're not going to get, it's just too expensive. Again, not going to get the ROI. That's why you're not going to see a lot of it. So there's been a lot of inventory all over the place, and including in our city. So we look at that and say, is there a way for us to make this advantageous for the city and to help get what we want, which is a new public safety center, and to put it where it needs to be, which is the place where we get the most calls for service from the police. And so literally this is a strategic location. It also puts us more in the center of the city between the east and the west, so it serves the east side as well as the west side. It's also, honestly, a little bit of economic germination, if you want to know the truth. There's a lot of pieces to this equation. And coincidingly, Steve, which you've been a part of this, is we were also working on the Hill Street development.
That's right.
So when we first came into office in January 22, we had 96 entitled apartments on 1.33 acres, the highest density standalone apartment complex really in North Fulton. That's what we inherited. And so we said, look, how can we change the dynamics to create a better project? And really over the last 2.5 years, that project didn't change. It became it had a metamorphosis. Like it just became dramatically like a true mixed-use development with mortgages, right? We're gonna have $1.5 to $2 million brownstone townhomes. They're gonna be gorgeous. We're gonna have real O&I, real office there. We're gonna have real retail of significant conquest, and we have spread out the density over the entire package, over the entire piece of real estate. So we've taken basically a 1.33 acre piece of project that barely touched that community, and we've transformed that entire block. And by the way, as you well know, we have a 4-pod strategy. Downtown is one of them.
Yep.
So you're going to see that strategy tie in basically to 120 up north. You're
Yep.
going to begin to see real estate change commercially as well. But the good news, Steve, as you well know, part of the strategy that you guys behind is scarcity is your friend if you use it.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, 100%.
And you got 44 square miles, right? Basically, all you got is Grayfield.
Yeah.
And one of the things I think the city did not understand from a leverage perspective historically was how to leverage the asset of scarcity, i.e., instead of falling in love with any project that would have you, we've kind of flipped the game. And as you just saw, as a interview process we went through, which we can't describe yet, which we will be able to see.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Right.
Significant players from all across the world, let alone the United States, are now interested in investing capital in the city of Roswell.
Right.
That's right.
And because they understand demographically it works, right? This is a great place to put their capital to work for significant returns on their dollars because they understand the city has a long-term vision to benefit its residents, a long-term vision to benefit its businesses, and a long-term kind of placemaking strategy of where things should be.
Don't you find that, yeah, and I think that we also have taken a strategy, I say we, collectively, that we're taking bits and pieces of redevelopment and turning them into actually tax base, right? So we look at Roswell Junction, for example, right?
Right.
It was a church for almost 100 years.
Yeah.
No tax revenue off that piece of property. And with the vision of a developer here and the support of mayor and council, they were able to turn that into not only property tax, excise tax, sales tax, all that generator of income, and plus a great place for the community.
Yeah.
Well, to your point, as you well know, you guys are intricately involved in this. As we're working together on these projects, we're doing something unusual for our city. We are putting ourselves into the equation of revenue structure outside of the traditional models and say, like, for example, Hill Street, we will actually be leasing the land to the developer for 99 years. The return on those dollars given based upon what it was performing at and what the value of the land was and what it will return to the residents of the city is dramatic.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, this has been a traditionally dominant resident-heavy tax-based city.
Yes.
Not unusual for suburbs.
Yep.
That's not the answer for 20 years from now. It's not the answer for 30 years from now. It's not the answer for 5 or 10 years from now. And I will tell you, we're committed to changing the revenue structure for income for the city in a whole set of ways. There are several projects where we believe we're basically within a fairly short period of time are going to be able to take the residential property tax off of the burden, off the backs of the residents of the city of Roswell.
Well, that's fantastic.
And I think that's within a 5-year
doable.
window of actually
Oh, yeah,
happening,
yeah.
like that soon, based upon the things we've got mixed. And for a whole host of reasons.
Yep.
But you're going to keep finding the city, as the city continues to become more dynamic, more entrepreneurial, more innovative, more adaptive. Look, it's no secret. City of No for a long time. No secret.
City of No.
Hard to do business with the city of Roswell. You're a resident or a business. No secret.
No secret.
And I will tell you, we're in the business of transforming not just the economic development of the city, but transforming the government of the city. So that this government, right, does something that's crazy. It becomes a government that works for its people, that works for its residents, that's responsive to its residents.
That's
But it has to think differently. It has to act differently. That's not comfortable because everybody says, well, government should do this and government should do that. I don't know. I want my government to do the things it says it should be doing. I want them to do it really, really well.
exceptional.
That's right, exceptional. I want it to think more like a business that has to survive,
That's right.
rather than just something that is entitled to be there.
Yeah.
And change the dynamics of that relationship. So there's a lot going on there, and you can see the agency is
Oh, yeah.
transforming under the leadership of Randy Knighton, Don Stevens,
Yep.
Bill Godshell, David Davidson, Jeff Leatherman, Sharon Eisel, on and Brian Watson, Jeff Littlefield. These people are transforming the organization, and I would be remiss if I didn't give the council tremendous credit.
Right.
Alan Sells, Christine Hall, Lee Hills, Will Morthland, David Johnson, Sarah Beeson, all 6 of them. They don't always agree all the time, but they're serious and intent about working together, and they all get ED. Like
They
every
do.
one of them is
Everybody
highly
gets
focused,
that.
highly invested in the ED success of our city.
Yeah.
And to your point, like, you guys just don't get enough credit. One of the things that, like, when we look back 5 years from now, I think You're going to get a lot of credit. You're going to get a lot of credit, as you should. Peter Sorkov's going to get a lot of credit.
Yes, he is.
Right? That economic team that you guys work with on Thursday going to get a lot of credit. Because you guys deserve it. Because you guys have created an architecture for long-term success for this city.
Yeah, I love those meetings, actually. I mean, they are, we have been doing them for quite some time.
We learn a lot.
When we got in there, it was, just figuring out what this was all going to look like. And now
how everybody works together,
machine.
right?
It is really cool. And I think it's really cool to see the domino effect taking place. And you could start with a Southern Post coming online, moving to Roswell Junction, the purchase of the Summit, Hill Street, which is, going to be kicking off here. And then there are several projects we haven't even talked about that are going to be equally, if not more, exciting, with a lot of substantial economic impact, direct revenue.
Long term.
I mean, we're talking relocation. We're talking about a number of different things, transient business. And it's exciting for us from a tourism perspective just because, the increase in product gives people options. And it makes us more competitive against the other cities that are nearby. But honestly, even beyond the local communities that are nearby, we can really start competing against the Nashvilles, the Birminghams, the Charlottes, and some of those other surrounding suburbs of those metropolitan areas. So it's exciting. It's a lot going on, really. If people only knew how much was going on, I think they'd say, whoa, like you guys are really cooking.
I think that's the hardest part, Andy. Mm-hmm. Is not to be able to share as much as I would love to share
right?
because a lot of it's real estate related.
Yes.
Right? So it puts things in, it's
perspective.
I want to be able to share it, but I can't because I can't put things at risk.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's probably one of the hardest things about this whole job because I want to share with people like, oh my gosh, guys.
Get excited, right?
There's a lot happening and there are a lot of pieces being put together and it's not just 1 + 1 + 1 + 1. It's 2 + 5 + 7 + 12 + 18. There's a lot going on. But there's a great team. There's a great team. I am so gratified by the team that's working you guys, everybody in the city of Roswell. It's amazing to watch.
Breaking down silos. It's one of the things you did from the get-go, right out of the gate, breaking those silos. Still working on them, right? There's still some of those silos. But what we've got is cohesiveness. We can call and talk to each other. And, you use a word, alignment. Everybody's in alignment. And I think that's important because we weren't in alignment as a city, right? Everybody drew the gun whichever time they were to shoot from the hip. Instead of saying, all right, here's our plan. There's a reason we're going to get to this end game, but it's a comprehensive plan. And I think that bringing everybody to the table. And, some people didn't want to be at the table, but you know what? The people that want to be at the table, that have the heart for it, that are going to be a part of the team, they're going to continue to be at the table. And you see it from your C-level guys that you've hired. Your team is top-notch. They're
really
responsive. And they know what they're talking about.
I mean, you look at Don Stevens. This is a CEO of a $2 billion corporation.
Yeah, $2 billion corporation.
Right. This is not your average chunk of the change. No disrespect.
No.
But I mean, this is a serious person,
serious
serious player with serious skill sets, and serious ability to influence activity, execution, development of people, development of the organization. Serious. Same with Bill. And David is a long-term treasure of the city.
Yes.
He's a long-term treasure, a brilliant mind. I'll tell you a little story. Mm-hmm. When we did the loss negotiations 2.5 years ago
with Fulton County,
Fulton County, right?
Oh,
So all 15 cities, all 15 cities in Fulton County, and it was 6 months long.
Yeah.
And we had been warned a little bit what it was going to be like, but they're every 10 years, so they're crazy. They're crazy, and they're set up for just collision. It's not a great process. Mm-hmm. So I'd be there with David and I'd be there with Randy, our city administrator, and we'd go to all these meetings, and we were there all the time. And David was so quiet, and he would whisper little things like, ch-ch-ch-ch. I said, David, that's brilliant. Why didn't you say that? Mm-hmm. And I had to, he was so gun shy. Mm-hmm. And I would say, David, that's the smartest thing anybody said in the last hour in the room. And it was invariably true so much of the time. Mm-hmm. So David has a great mind for the city. He has a great legal mind, and he has a great heart for the city. So I'm so tickled. And then the hiring of Joe Cusack, who basically ran ethics for the state of Georgia.
That's right.
That's our assistant city attorney. Talk about, this guy is so...
Lives here, he's committed.
Loves it too, yeah.
Which makes a huge
difference. By the way,
difference.
Hugely involved in economic development. And that's the other thing, is bringing in the DDA, the RDA, all right, bringing other boards and commissions, trying to and calculate them, bring them behind the scenes, let them look behind the curtain and say, look, here's what's going on.
That's right.
And you're part of this process, but this is heady stuff. We need your involvement. We need your integration. There's a lot of pieces. You got a huge, important part to play. But that's much different in the past.
Oh, yeah.
Because really the strategy has been well articulated, well orchestrated, and well thought out. But it's really being done by a team of people at City Hall.
That's right.
With external folks and internal
right.
folks.
Right.
Whereas in the past, and I don't mean to sound critical, but
No.
there really wasn't an economic development strategy.
No.
It was kind of like each man for himself,
That's right.
each woman
Keep-
for
keep
himself.
your head above
go
water.
figure it out.
Yeah.
You go do this. Wait a minute. You go, actually, why don't
No.
you figure out what to go do?
Yeah,
You go
exactly.
figure out to do.
Exactly.
So there was lots of lack of symmetry.
Yeah.
And lack of intentionality and lack of knowing what you wanted to do and what you didn't want to do. And that's one of the things we had to figure out, like, we couldn't be Me Too copycat to our sister
Nope.
cities. Way ahead of us.
Way.
When you looked at the drawing board, you say, look at Alpharetta is light years ahead of us.
Yep.
Light years. So we said, well, we can't Me Too them. Sandy Springs as well in terms of some of their ED. Milton to some degree, a little different. But Johns Creek as well, all had carved out little niches for themselves. Not
right.
little, but big niches.
Yeah.
And we said, we got to figure out how to leapfrog these guys.
Yeah.
So that's been
And
like
it's happening.
and I get so fun. And it's like PBS is a part of the equation.
Yeah.
Because it's tied to, by the way, aerospace is the #1 export industry in the state of Georgia. No, right.
Amazing.
Got to tie yourself there.
Yep.
No surprise, people know we've probably been talking about AAM for a long time, advanced air mobility, forgive me. We've been talking about HPI. That would be more to come.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and that's that term we use. We've been using it probably for the past year, those barrier breaking experiences.
Yep.
And that's not just tourism. I mean,
Yep.
what that means is that's people coming into town from elsewhere. They're originating from other areas. But that's also, I mean, if you think of PBS, for example, like they're going to be having
yeah.
corporate meetings. They're going to be bringing groups in.
Yep.
They're going to be
Oh,
bringing
yeah.
international travelers in. Those people are going to spend money here.
On a regular
They're going to
basis.
stay in the hotels here. They're going to dine. They're going to go to the attractions. They're going to tell their friends. These things really have a big, impactful effect. And you see
Huge.
communities that have those things established do really well, and we're really kind of heading in that direction pretty aggressively even.
Well, and we're capitalizing on the industries that are already here, like GM, and the fact that they were working on autonomous cars 8-9 years ago.
That's right.
Right? And they've been here working on that, and they've got those people here, and that kind of talent just adds to it.
Before I forget about, Andy's, he too has the second hardest job next to you. Because inventory.
Yeah.
Right? We don't have,
And the level of inventory. So I don't know if I've shared this with you or not, but Jeff Leatherman, I call him the creator
Yep.
of the Founders Park Plan.
Yes.
So, we've made a commitment to spend $10 million, $5 million of it's already encumbered, to spend $10 million to basically design Founders Park, which is Bullock Avenue, and tying together Barrington, Bullock,
Wow.
Mimosa, Holly
Which is
Hill, and the
phenomenal.
Founders Square, and tying that in, right, and make it a real park space
Right.
where people want to visit. As you know, we've hired a wedding planner.
Yeah.
We're in the
Yeah.
wedding planner business.
Yes,
We're
you
going to
are.
get in the event planning business.
Yep.
We're going to activate those homes because these amazing properties nobody was going to see.
You're gonna have a-
see us bring Doc's Cafe, by the way. There's a
Oh,
little
yeah.
secret, a little
Oh, yeah.
surprise. Nobody's
Wow.
heard this.
You're going to have
So
a product.
we're gonna figure out how to
actually.
bring Doc's
You're going to have a
Cafe.
product to
Yeah.
market, man.
We're going to bring Doc's Cafe over to Founders Park.
Oh, I love that.
To make
Yeah.
it
Serious.
relevant, right? So people will see it, experience it, know it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But all this is an investment in ED to activate more people to enjoy Roswell, to see the incredible place that Roswell is.
Yeah.
Roswell is an incredible community. It's a great city. It's a fantastic place.
Yeah, sure.
And what's cool is, I think we're going to do something unthinkable. We're going to make it even better.
Yeah.
And we always say it's a great day to do business in Roswell.
Yes, it is, brother.
Cheers to Mayor and Council.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Thank you.